Hello. Hello again, my friends. Thanks so much for those of you who are joining me for the second time today. I did a stream on the Karen Reed civil case this morning. Today is Thursday, October 3rd, 2024, and I am so humbled and grateful that you have chosen to spend part of your day with me here today. Today, we are going to another Commonwealth. We're going to another Commonwealth, my friends. We're going to Kentucky. And I'm wondering if I have any Kentucky locals in the chat, because that would be pretty amazing, because we need some more information on this case. For those of you who are familiar with this case, there's so much, I think, that we don't know yet. The why, what was going on behind the scenes. There's certain things I can tell you about because I dug up some court documents. And since I am a legal-based channel, I like to have receipts and look at documents with you and look at hearings with you and analyze them and break them down. And that's what we're going to do today. But I have a feeling there's so much more to this story that we just do not know yet. There's a lot of rumors swirling around. I don't want to spread any rumors or misinformation. But we're going to look at documents. We're going to look at the preliminary hearing. And we're going to look at some articles, and maybe we can glean some information, because this is a crazy story. Thank you, Maureen Francis, for the Cash App. I appreciate you so much. I hope you had a nice trip. There is a lot to this case, supposedly, Alana. There's a lot to it, and we're going to get right into it. So on Thursday, September 19th, the defendant, Shawn, also known as Mickey Stines, 43 years old, was the sheriff of Letcher County, Kentucky. Letcher County is contained Whitesburg, Kentucky, population 1,700. This is a courthouse with a one-judge court. One courtroom, one judge, and that judge, District Court Judge Kevin Mullins, 54 years old. By all accounts, I'm going to call him Mickey because that's what he goes by. Mickey and Judge Mullins were good friends. Judge Mullins had been on the bench for 15 years. And prior to Mickey being elected sheriff in 2018, he worked as a bailiff in Judge Mullins' courtroom for many years, and they were good friends. In fact, on the day of this shooting, they had gone to lunch together with a bunch of other people. That was September 19th. After the lunch, apparently, somebody overheard the sheriff say to the judge, do we need to talk about this in private, or something to that effect? And then shortly before 3 p.m., Sheriff Mickey walked into chambers of Judge Mullin and shot him several times and killed him. There's video of the incident because there was a camera in Judge Mullin's chambers. Shortly before the shooting, evidence has come out that the two of them exchanged cell phones, that Sheriff Mickey made a phone call or a couple of phone calls to his daughter from his own cell phone, and then took the judge's phone and called his daughter from the judge's phone, and his daughter's phone number was in the judge's phone. I don't know how old his daughter is, but I've heard that she is a teenager. And somebody also posted a TikTok or a video of the two of them that I'm not going to play, but you can find it if you want to. And it's of the sheriff in the front seat of his patrol car with the daughter in the back seat. It looks like she's dressed in an orange jumpsuit, and they're doing some sort of like dancing and singing routine to none other than "I Shot the Sheriff." Somebody said she's 16. People say 17. I don't know. I have questions. What was it that would cause the sheriff to kill his friend, the judge? We're going to find out. We're going to dig into it. I don't think we're going to find out right now. But I will tell you that because Judge Mullins would have been the one to hear this criminal case, because he's the only judge in Letcher County, they had to move this case 100 miles away to a different county, Morgan County, which is about an hour and a half away. from Letcher County. This town is so small that everyone knows everyone in this town, and this town is rocked by what has happened here. Somebody says his daughter is beautiful too. Yuri's math teacher says this one's going to get messy, I'm afraid. Somebody said 15, 16, 17. I'm not sure. It's unconfirmed. What I also know, and I found out and I have receipts on, the shooting happened on a Thursday. The Monday prior to the shooting, Sheriff Mickey gave a deposition in a federal lawsuit. We're going to look at the federal lawsuit because I have a copy of it. He was sued as a defendant in that lawsuit because one of his deputies was accused to have and pled guilty to, let's see, we're in the first couple of minutes of the stream, so I have to be careful with my language, having forcible intercourse with more than one woman in the chambers of Judge Mullins. Okay, so the story runs deep and twisted. Thank you, Jody. Smash the like button to push this case out. I have a copy of the lawsuit. We're going to take a look at the lawsuit. The judge was not named in that lawsuit, and it was not alleged in that lawsuit that the judge knew what was going on in his chambers after hours. We don't know if it's related, but the sequence of events here make me think maybe. Sarah in Shock and Horror says something sounds like something out of a John Grisham novel. It is. It sounds like it. Exactly. Small town, Kentucky, rural, everyone knows everyone, tight-knit community. It's crazy. Lindsay says, bingo, I think the deposition was the big snowball, and this something had to have been asked of him or alluded to that made him do this, in my opinion. Chantal, who I'm guessing is maybe a local, says his chamber was a brothel for years. Yeah, very, very, very messy. This case is always about the victim, so I'm going to read you a portion of the obituary for Judge Kevin Russell Mullins. He was 54 years old. Part of his obituary says as follows: Letcher County District Judge Kevin R. Mullins passed away Thursday, September 19th, 2024, at the age of 54. He died in his chambers of the courthouse where he spent his career working to help people. He was born June 25th, 1970, in Pikeville, and then it names his mother and father. He was a member of the Hemphill Church of Christ. Besides his mother, he is survived by his wife and his two daughters. I will not name them. Kevin had served as the district court judge for 14 years, first being appointed by Governor Steve Beshear in 2009 to fill a judicial vacancy, and then elected to a full term in 2010. He went on to be reelected 3 times, dedicating more than a decade to his community in his role as judge. He began his law career after earning a Bachelor of Arts with distinction in political science from the University of Kentucky, followed by his Juris Doctor degree from the Louis D. Brandeis School of Law at the University of Louisville. He was admitted to the Kentucky bar in 1995. Prior to joining the bench, he served as an assistant Commonwealth's attorney for 9 years, was in private law practice, and was a solo practitioner. From the outset as a judge, Kevin recognized that incarceration alone was insufficient in addressing the opioid epidemic in the Commonwealth. He pioneered a local protocol focused on linking people to treatment services early in their involvement with the justice system, leading a transformative shift in how justice could support recovery. This innovative protocol not only provided pathways to recovery, but also gained recognition statewide, impacting the lives of over 20,000 people by providing access to inpatient treatment services. Just want to point out that the federal lawsuit that we're going to read together has a lot to do with drug offenders. And those of you who watched the series Dope Sick, which we've talked about several times, which goes to the heart and root of the opioid epidemic, opioid epidemic in mining towns and other small towns throughout the country know that the manufacturers of OxyContin were very specific in the communities that they targeted initially to get people addicted on this drug that they told doctors was not addictive. So the fact that this is in Judge Mullins' obituary says to me that there is a very big opioid crisis in Letcher County. And if anybody is here from Letcher County can confirm that, that's an interesting thing to point out, that the judge was very, very, wanting to help the community and their opioid crisis. Yeah, we'll talk about the sentencing for the officer, Ben Fields, who pled guilty to the R word. Pled guilty. He received 6 months in jail, in the very jail where he had been a deputy sheriff, and 6.5 years probation. He was sentenced in January of this year, so I guess he's already out. Does anybody know? They only showed about 20 seconds of the video in court. And I don't know if they're going to show it on the Law and Crime feed, but I do have a portion that was shown on a news channel, a local news channel, because I like to go to the local channels for my local news because they're very invested in these local cases. So it's a local Kentucky channel. Lindsay says, in my opinion, the sheriff very clearly snapped, as we all saw. There's obviously more context than we didn't see, but that leads me to wonder if his daughter very well could have been afraid of him. I don't know. Sheriff Mickey is charged with first-degree murder in the death of Judge Kevin Mullins. And I think the first thing that we should do is take a look at the preliminary hearing, which was just held this week on, today's the 3rd, so it was held on Tuesday. And the purpose of the preliminary hearing was to determine whether or not there was probable cause to go to a grand jury on these charges. So let's take a look at that. First, also worth pointing out that one day before the hearing, the sheriff put in his retirement papers. That is coming at you from WSAZ. If I can pull that up for you. He had been asked to retire by the governor, or quit or resign. Governor Beshear had called on Stines to resign in a letter last week, but instead his lawyer wrote a letter to the governor's office, and I've pulled it up for you, which we will read. Dear Mr. Mayo, Sheriff Shawn Mickey Stines has proudly served the people of Letcher County for over 22 years. He expresses his heartfelt appreciation and love for the support this community has given him and his family during his time in service. Mr. Stines has made the difficult decision to effect his retirement as of September 30th of 2024. This decision is made not as a result of any ultimatum or in any way as a concession to any allegations made by the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Rather, Sheriff Stines has made this decision to allow for a successor to continue to protect his beloved constituents while he addresses the legal processes ahead of him. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact my office. Sincerely, attorneys Jeremy Bartley and Kerry Bartley. We see this in a lot of cases where law enforcement sometimes decides to retire before a conviction so that they can keep their pension and retirement benefits. Yeah, apparently it was a difficult decision. Simi, a difficult decision. Yuri's math teacher gifted 10 memberships. Thank you so much for your kind and generous donation to the channel, and for all of those 10 members that were just newly gifted. Welcome. Thank you, Yuri's math teacher. You're always so kind and generous. Cyber Chicken Boston for your super chat, super sticker. And all of the other new members who joined before the gifting: Hal Lawrence, Weird Ryan, Marissa, Cindy, Diplomatic Diva, and May DJK. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I think you're going to like it here. Let's go now to the Commonwealth of Kentucky and take a look at the preliminary hearing, which was just held this past Tuesday. What I thought was kind of odd about this is that Law and Crime calls this sheriff on trial for judge's murder. He's not on trial for anything yet. He hasn't even been formally indicted. So I thought that was a very odd mischaracterization of what is happening in the courtroom, what did happen in the courtroom on Tuesday. But as usual, I digress. Let's take a look at this courtroom in Morgan County, the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And I do stop to talk about it because that's what I do here. I want to show you a shot of him being brought into the courtroom before the hearing starts. So we're going to start it a little bit early. It's a very large courtroom. I also want to trigger warn you just because you're going to hear family members of the judge crying during this hearing and kind of crying out. I did not see his defense attorney's interview, Kathy. Did not see it. Can FF a little bit. I know the sound doesn't start until a little bit in, but I just want to see, I want you to see him being brought into the courtroom. And that is Sheriff Mickey Stines. Make sure to put your DNA on the like button. Here's the seal of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So I imagine that during breaks, instead of looking at a fan, we're going to be looking at this seal. God save the Commonwealth. Here's another shot of the defendant, Sheriff Stines. And we will FF it a bit. If you'd like to go back and just watch all that preamble by yourself, you are certainly welcome to. It's even longer than 15 minutes in. Okay.
Court's now in session with the Morgan District Court's now in session with the Honorable Rupert Billoy.
Thank you, sir. You may be seated. I'm going to call the case of Commonwealth versus Shawn Stines, 24F-147, on for preliminary hearing. Is the Commonwealth ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, call your first witness.
Commonwealth's Clayton Stamper.
All right, click. Mr. Stamper, if you would. Raise your right hand for me. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, this is Detective Clayton Stamper. And remember, all they need to show at this hearing is probable cause to go to a grand jury. So they're not going to show everything that they have, just enough. Just enough.
You state your name for the record, please.
Clayton Stamper,
And how you spell your name?
ClaytonStamper.
Tell the court how you're employed.
I'm sorry.
How are you employed?
I'm a detective with the Kentucky State Police assigned to Post 13 Hazard.
How long have you been employed in that capacity?
I've been with KSP a little over 24 years, detective since 2006.
And have you, in the performance of your duties as detective police, have you investigated the death of Kevin Mullins?
Yes, sir, I did.
And can you tell us on what date that was?
It was September 19th, 2024.
In investigation of that death, were you able to determine who killed Kevin Mullins?
Yes.
And how were you able to do that?
Video surveillance footage.
And did you retrieve that video surveillance footage?
I did.
You're at this time, the company to play video footage. All right.
All right, I'll object. Approach.
Yes, approach the bench.
It's objecting to them showing the video. They only show a 20-second clip. This is not from today. This is from Tuesday. This is not in the county where it occurred. As I said before, they moved this to a county 100 miles away to Morgan County because Judge Mullins was the only judge sitting in Letcher County. And they also wanted to put Sheriff Stines into a prison or a jail that he didn't have control over, so they moved it to Morgan County. Okay, nice view of the ceiling. It is a pretty ceiling. It's a beautiful courtroom. Lovely woodwork. Thank you to Cats Meow, who gifted 5 more memberships. That's amazing. 15 new members today on gifted memberships alone. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you so much. Welcome to anyone who's gifted. You can thank Yuri's math teacher or Cats Meow, depending on who your gift was from. Let's see. Let's move a little bit. FF. No spoilers, please.
All right,
Thank
go
you.
ahead. You ready to proceed?
Come straight here.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to, hold on. I'm going to full screen this for you. Maybe, I wonder if I can make it even bigger. I don't think so. Okay, so you can see the video better. There's no audio for that video. So all you're going to see is the sheriff. You can see he's clearly holding a weapon in his hands, pointing at the judge, and the judge is kind of ducking under his desk. So let me full screen this so you can see it larger. Oh, and you can see the you can hear the family members in the gallery weeping, crying, heartbreaking. Apparently, they have video that is much longer than this. This is the only 20-second clip that they showed in the courtroom to get to probable cause. And it's kind of, can I turn my mic down a little? Oh my God, we're just going to start with the complaining already. The feed sounds okay to me, so I'm not sure if you guys need earbuds, but compared to the volume we've had in court the past couple of days, this volume is pretty good. So I'm going to just rewind this a second so you can watch it again. And then when the news channel plays it, they have better video that's kind of like right on. So let me give you a A trigger warning. Okay, let's watch it again. He's down behind the desk. He tries to get back up. He shoots him again and again. Comes around the desk. Then he looks at him one more time just to make sure. I think he shoots him again before he walks out the door. Very, very tiny
Is that a
chambers.
portion of the video?
Oh, thank you. I believe that those are family members of the judge that are, I mean, rightfully so, wailing in the courtroom, but, you know, I don't think it was so, like, cool that the photographer decided to focus on them.
Can you able to identify the parties we saw in that video?
That was Sheriff Mickey Stines and Judge Kevin Mullins.
And also, who had the firearm?
Sheriff Stines.
And then, Judge was obviously in his black robe.
Yes.
Do you know what portion of the courthouse that is?
That is the judge's chambers
And where's that located at, physically located?
in the Letcher County Courthouse.
That's all I have you on.
Would you like to cross-examine the witness?
I would, Your Honor.
That was a short clip that was played there. How long do you believe that clip was?
That we just watched,
Yes, sir.
just 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
15 seconds. In fact, the video that was taken in the judge's chambers between the meeting between Sheriff Stines and Judge Mullins, it's my understanding that video lasted much longer, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to review the video
I have.
of the prior incident?
I have.
And can you describe for us what happened immediately prior to the clip that we saw?
Sheriff Stines uses his telephone to make some phone calls. He then borrows Judge Mullins' cell phone and appears to make a call on that. And that led to what you just saw.
Okay. So it's my understanding there were some people who were having a meeting with Judge Mullins prior to the sheriff's entry into the chambers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have you identified those witnesses?
I don't know the names of them. There's about approximately 4 people in there. Then Sheriff Stines enters the judge's chambers and everybody else clears out.
You don't know their names?
Not right off, no.
Have you prepared a report?
In the process, yes.
You're in the process of preparing a report,
Yes, a lot of information.
but you've not spoken to any of those witnesses?
I've not directly, but they've all been interviewed. There's recorded interviews of those people in the case.
Okay, so other officers have spoken with those 4 witnesses?
Yes.
And what is your understanding of what those 4 witnesses have said?
I don't recall.
You have no idea what they said?
No.
I want to make sure I understand, had there,
Diane, I'm just going to break to say you're absolutely right. If this was Judge Cannoni, she would not allow any outbursts of emotions from the family. Also, we saw that in Mississippi during the Carly Gregg, when they read the verdict. The judge said that he would hold into contempt and throw anyone in jail who showed any emotion during the verdict. It was Dewey K. Arthur in Rankin County, Mississippi.
there been a hearing previously this day in chambers?
In the courtroom?
No, in chambers.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And so there's a video camera that is running in the district judge's chambers. Is that on all the time?
It's my understanding, yes.
Or have you spoken with any?
to answer your question, Chloe's mom, do all judges have cameras in their chambers? If all that essay was happening in the chambers, then they should have it on tape. Nope, they didn't have cameras then. Now they do. Maybe that's why now they do. That's what I'm thinking. Good point.
Anyone about why that may be?
No, I mean, there's cameras throughout the courthouse.
Well, fair enough, but are you familiar with district judges' chambers normally, how they're set up?
No, I mean, some of them have video surveillance and some don't.
Right, but
This one does.
generally when they have surveillance, you agree with me that that is utilized when there is a proceeding going on in chambers, correct?
It could be, yes.
Okay. And I mean, I'm just asking, so this video didn't have an audio recording to it,
No.
correct?
There's no audio.
Outside of once the four people that were inside that we don't know their names, once these four people had left the chambers, were they in an area adjacent where they could hear anything that was going on?
Yes, I believe some of them did remain in the next room.
Okay. And what did they tell us?
Do what?
What did they hear?
I've not been part, I wasn't part of those interviews.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, you're prepared for a preliminary hearing on a murder, and there are witnesses in an adjacent room.
I mean, they heard
Can I put
gunshots.
my question, please?
Yeah, please, that's the question.
Thank you, also. So you are investigating a murder and testifying in a preliminary hearing, and there are witnesses who may have overheard what preceded this edited clip, yet you can't tell us today anything that they said?
I've not personally listened to those interviews. I've talked to the other officers that did those interviews.
Fair enough. And I mean, we're here at a preliminary hearing, as you know, that you can testify to hearsay. I'm asking you what they said.
They heard gunshots.
Okay. Was there any statements that they overheard?
No.
Were there raised voices?
There, one person stated that she didn't recognize him as being Judge Mullins' voice, but heard somebody say, "Help, help."
Presumably that will be after the firearm was drawn or shot.
Objection, Your Honor.
I withdraw, Judge.
Withdraw.
Oh, so is there any testimony that you can give us today about any statements or arguments or the content of that argument prior to the shooting?
No.
I want to ask generally, so did you process the scene? Are you the lead investigator on this case?
I am.
Okay, so as a lead investigator, I would presume that you would have secured the chambers and evidence once you arrived.
I was part of that, yes.
You were part of it, right? But you're the lead investigator, so you'd be in charge of those duties and delegating what should be done. Is that
No.
fair?
No, I don't delegate what's done.
Okay, so you're the lead investigator. What does that mean?
I'm the case officer.
Okay, so you're carrying the case. So I want to make sure I understand, had Judge Mullins been removed from chambers when you arrived?
No,
Were you able to ascertain, did he have a firearm on his person?
we did not locate one.
You did not locate one?
No, there was not one in the chambers.
Okay. And there was none on his person?
No.
Okay. All right. Who was the first person to arrive on behalf of law enforcement to investigate?
They were already in the courthouse.
Fair enough, but I'm talking about in terms of people that we may see a report from or take part in this investigation. Who would be the first person?
I believe Trooper Jason Bates was the first KSP personnel on scene.
And you spoke with him and
I did.
he searched and did not locate a firearm?
No, he didn't search the scene. No,
You
his
for
role
sure.
his role at that point was security of the scene.
I understand, but I'm just trying to ascertain, you said earlier that there was no firearm found. I'm
No,
wanting to know, did you Can you tell us, was it specifically search for a firearm?
In the judge's chambers,
Yes, sir.
there was myself, Detective Chris Collins, Detective Scott Caldwell, Detective Eric Caldwell. That's all I recall right now.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand. So who searched specifically for a firearm?
We all did.
And that was specifically something you looked for?
Yes.
Fair enough. Okay.
Does anybody know if that's his daughter sitting behind him, the daughter in question? I don't know. Cannot confirm or deny.
Of course, your investigation, did you ascertain that prior in the day there had been a lunch meeting between Sheriff Stines and Judge Mullins?
There was.
Pardon?
There was.
Sorry, I couldn't hear your response. I wasn't being trite. So where did this take place?
It's a restaurant called Street Side, and it's just down the street from the courthouse.
Okay. And it's my understanding there were a couple of other people who attended the luncheon.
There were several, yes.
Okay. And at some point after that, they wrapped up lunch and left, obviously, and went back to the courthouse. Are you aware of anything so far in your investigation that would tell us there was any issues at lunch between Judge
No,
Mullins and Sheriff Stines?
no.
That someone on behalf of the KSB has spoken to those witnesses?
Yes, they've all been interviewed.
And there was nothing unusual that had arisen during that luncheon?
I was told that the judge made a statement to Mickey about, do we need to meet private in my chambers? That's all I was told.
Okay, so the judge said to Mickey, do we need to meet private in my chambers? He does sound shook or in shock because he probably knew these people very well. It's a very small town.
Do you know the context of
I do not.
what the conversation was before that they would need to discuss in chambers?
I do not.
So it's my understanding that in the larger portion of the video that we haven't had access to, that there is a point when Sheriff Stines asked for to see the telephone of Judge Mullins.
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And I would presume that
If you know, you know. I was waiting for him to say, yay, yes. Like a certain witness in Massachusetts. Yay, yes.
you and the other officers you mentioned when you secured the scene that you secured those phones as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And have you reviewed both of those phones?
They're currently at the forensic lab at this time being downloaded. I have had discussions with the people at the lab regarding the downloads.
And those are a couple of other questions that I was going to ask you, but my original question was, have you reviewed or are you aware of the content of the phones?
I've not personally seen it because I've not received those reports yet.
Okay, again, based upon your conversations with the officers, are you aware of any recent content that was up and could have been relevant at the time of their discussion?
I was told that Sheriff Stines had tried to call his daughter, and he had tried to call his daughter from the judge's phone also.
So, have you had?
Okay, look at defendant's face. He tried to call his daughter from his phone, and then he tried to call his daughter from the judge's phone, too. Why was the daughter's number in the judge's phone? There are several reasons that could be.
Have you obtained the phone records from Judge Mullins' phone?
I don't have those in my possession yet, no.
Okay. Have you issued a search warrant for them?
Yes.
Okay. And have officers confirmed that the sheriff's daughter's phone number was on Judge Mullins' phone?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so,
So
yes.
that number had been called from Judge Mullins' phone.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
I agree. This entire case looks like it has to do with the phones and they don't even have the downloads yet, but it's okay because the video alone is probable cause. All this is a preliminary hearing to determine whether there's probable cause to get this case to a grand jury. They don't need anything more than the video, in my opinion, for that. And again, the shooting was on September 19th. This hearing was October 1st. I don't know if they've been able to unlock the phones yet. Sometimes it can take a year or more to unlock a phone. But like somebody said, and like I agree, they're not going to give him everything right now. All they need is probable cause and the video alone. Video alone stands on its own merits, speaks for itself.
So we don't have a viewing of what transpired during that exchange of phones.
I bet it's on
based
tape.
upon your review of those moments prior to when Sheriff Stines observes that cell phone, was he previously seated?
Yes.
Okay, so in the clip we saw, he was standing the entire time.
He was seated in front of the judge's desk.
And he looks at the cell phone. Can you describe his reaction in the video that we haven't seen?
Whose reaction?
Well, the sheriff.
You can't see his face in the video.
Okay. But is it clear does it appear to you that, let me rephrase this. Did he stand up after
Yes.
looking at the phone?
He stood up.
And how long after he looked at the cell phone and stood up did this occur that you played?
Just seconds.
Did you make the decision on edits today for what you were going to present? Did you make the edit or determine which portion of the video we were going to see today?
No, sir, I did not.
Both cell phones have been sent to the Kentucky State Police forensic
Yes.
team. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have you gotten any early report on what was found?
No.
Were both phones still on the desk when you arrived?
The judge's phone was on the desk. Sheriff Stein's phone was on his person.
Okay. So are there photographs was the phone locked at that point or was it still open?
Both of you asking about both of them, or?
Well, first let's talk about, that's fair. First, I'm talking about Judge Mullins, since it was the one that was still on the desk and presumably nobody touched it prior to you securing it, correct?
No.
So, yeah, so would like to know about that. Have you ascertained what was currently open on that cell phone?
No, I don't know at this point, no.
You don't know?
No.
Do you think that will be important to learn?
I hope to learn that when the report's ready, yes.
Yeah, and they will learn it and they will present that to a grand jury because it's going to take a lot more than just probable cause to indict him in front of a grand jury. So again, this is very, very quick. They will have all that when they go to the grand jury.
But as of today, you can't tell us
No.
what was currently open on the judge's phone.
No, sir.
Did you conduct an interview with Sheriff Stein's daughter?
I did not, but she has been interviewed.
Are you aware of who was present when she was interviewed?
Lieutenant Randy Combs and Detective Anthony Trotter.
She was interviewed with or without her parent?
With.
I don't know. I just wish that she was interviewed by Olivia Benson, or they could have had a woman doing it. I don't know. That's just me. Hold on, 2 men, I guess.
Lieutenant Randy Combs and Detective Anthony Trotter.
She was interviewed with or without her parent?
With.
So her parent was present at the time you interviewed her?
Yes, I believe. I wasn't there, but yes, I think so.
Law enforcement has not spoken to her without her parent present.
Not that I'm aware of.
Did the Kentucky State Police obtain her phone?
No.
You intend to obtain records for her cell phone number?
Possibly, yes.
Possibly.
Do you believe that that will be soon that you'll do that?
Could be, yes.
Had you already intended to do that, or did you just respond to my question?
Well, the call should be on the judge's records too.
Well, I understand.
And she's made statements about what occurred during those conversations.
I understand that, but I would.
Okay. That's not a really great answer, Detective. Whatever happened, if there were any calls between the daughter and the judge, may not necessarily be on the judge's phone, because as we know, those calls can be deleted and certain troopers might not be able to find them in Celebrate extractions, because is Celebrate the gold standard or not? I guess that remains to be seen in Kentucky, but this attorney actually just said, were you really going to get her phone, or did I just give you the idea to get her phone? Let's take that back of a question.
Could be, yes.
Had you already intended to do that, or did you just respond to my question?
Well, the call should be on the judge's records too.
Well, I understand.
And she's made statements about what occurred during those conversations.
I understand that, but I would presume that, have you ascertained whether Judge Mullins also had apps that stand outside of phone records?
I've not received.
So this detective just admitted that the daughter has told them what has been discussed during those conversations. So he's admitting that the daughter had more than one conversation with the judge, that the daughter has told them about these conversations. And now he's asking about apps like, as such, we've learned about Signal, WhatsApp, Snapchat, some messaging apps like Telegram that are encrypted end to end.
Those records yet. I don't know what's on the
Well,
phone.
fair enough, but I mean, did you look at the phone? Did it appear there were apps on it?
I'm not the person that's qualified to look through the phone.
Okay, but you're familiar with cell phones. They can host other forms of communication. Yes, sir.
What's the objection?
Didn't ask the answer, Your Honor. He's asked the question about 4 or 5 different ways. The officers, the detective repeatedly said that he does not have a report with phones. He's not looked at the phone. He can't testify that matter.
I'll let him ask the question, and what he can only testify what he has personal knowledge about.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right.
Wow. Here's how they do it in Kentucky, folks. In Kentucky, you make an objection, you better have a grounds. You better tell the judge what the grounds are. So much different from the other Commonwealth, Massachusetts. There are 4 Commonwealths in the United States, my friends: Virginia, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and Kentucky.
So you're aware that phones can be used for apps such as Facebook?
Yes.
Okay. And that is not something that is captured by cell phone records. You would agree with me?
I agree.
So in light of that, although the records may be mutually the same, right, the same between Judge Mullins' phone and the sheriff's daughter, do you believe that you could also ascertain other information from the cell phone app content?
Are you asking what apps are on the phone?
Yes. Well, that was my original question.
I don't know
thought you would
I've not received that report yet. I don't know what apps he had downloaded on the phone.
If he has social media apps, do you intend to?
That could lead to additional search warrants, yes.
If you would, officer, please let me finish before you. move forward, and I'll try to slow down a little bit as well, okay?
Sure.
I'm just going to say that's an interesting choice of haircut for this defense attorney. So that's interesting. So they're doing like Celebrite extractions, I'm going to assume, because, Celebrite is the gold standard among law enforcement for extractions of cell phones, but Celebrite extractions do not give you content of apps like Signal, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Facebook, Messenger, and other ways of communicating. So you have to obtain a separate search warrant for each one of those companies. Not all of them are willing to give it up. Mark Zuckerberg.
Have you determined whether there were any previous issues, personal or professional, between Sheriff Stines and Judge Mullins?
I've heard things.
What have you heard?
I've heard things.
Just that this regarding the law.
Objection. I've heard things. Objection. I'm not here to talk about rumor and speculation, but there's no objection and they're going to let them talk about it. So if you haven't been paying attention, pay attention now. I've heard things. Okay. Okay. Here's the question again.
You determined whether there were any previous issues, personal or professional, between Sheriff Stines and Judge Mullins?
So personal or professional issues between the judge and the sheriff. Nothing to do with the daughter.
I've heard things.
What have you heard?
Just that this regarding the lawsuit that the Letcher County Sheriff's Office is currently involved with.
The lawsuit that involved ultimately a criminal conviction of a deputy for sexual behavior in the judge's chambers. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes.
Wasn't really a conviction because he pled guilty, but I'll allow it. I'll allow it. We're going to look at the lawsuit after this. Buckle up.
The subject matter of that lawsuit, the chambers area, that's the same chambers in which this occurred. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with the details of that case that the lawsuit resulted from.
Okay. Are you aware of any criminal reports that Sheriff Stines had made of Judge Mullins prior to this day?
No.
And any prior reports that sheriff had made of the judge? Maybe that's going to be part of the defense, that the sheriff had made some reports on the judge.
Did you personally observe Sheriff Stines following this video?
Sheriff Stines, what?
Did I personally observe him? What?
Did you meet with him? Did you talk to him after?
He was in custody when I arrived at the courthouse that afternoon.
And at some point, did you draw any observation about his demeanor?
He was mostly calm, I thought. I mean, I talked to him, but he didn't say nothing about why this had happened. But he was calm. He was kind of afraid that basically all he said was, "Treat me fair." That's basically the comments he made.
Okay.
Treat me fair. That's basically the only thing that the sheriff said in custody. Treat me fair.
Did he also make a statement about, I didn't see it in the citation, you're somewhere along the line, I saw a statement being attributed to him about protecting his family?
I wasn't present, but when he was taken into custody, I was told by one of the other officers that were there that he made the comment, "They're trying to kidnap my wife and kid."
That was his other statement. They're trying to kidnap my wife and kid. Treat me fair. They're trying to kidnap my wife and kid. File that away.
Now, have you ascertained any evidence that this shooting was pre-planned?
No, not at this time.
And would you agree that
Oh, they're going to use a heat of passion defense. Okay. Not at this time. We've not seen anything that this was pre-planned. In fact, they were at lunch together that day. They were good friends for many, many years. If you're just joining, welcome. This sheriff was a bailiff in the judge's courtroom for many years before he was elected sheriff in 2018.
from what we've seen so far, from the evidence you've seen so far, the shooting was a reaction to what was on that cell phone in that moment? Is that accurate?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation outside of his self-expertise.
Objection calls for speculation.
Sure, I believe that if he has formed an opinion about the investigation up to this point, especially at a preliminary hearing, he can speculate on that, Judge.
Or sustain.
Sure. So, is there anything other than the content of the phone that this video will reveal to us about why this took place?
No.
Does it appear?
Wait, what? Is there anything about the content of the phone that will provide to us why this took place? Didn't he already testify like 3 times? Didn't he already answer that question 3 times, that he doesn't know what was on the phone, that he didn't look, that he's not qualified to look at the extraction and to interpret the extraction? Hold on.
Other than the content of the phone.
Oh, anything other than the
that this
content of the
video
phone?
will reveal to us about why this took place.
No.
Does it appear that this took place as a reaction to what was happening in the chambers at that point?
I can say it occurred after a phone call was made. I don't know what was said or nothing like that. But
Fair enough, and I'm not asking you the content of any of that, but at this point, is it your theory that whatever that content was in the discussion was the impetus of the shooting?
it could be, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay. Do you have any evidence up until this point that you have developed that would demonstrate that it was not as a reaction to what was on the phone?
No.
None whatsoever?
No.
Okay. Just if I had just one moment for.
Okay, so there's nothing whatsoever to make you think that what happened was not a result of what was on the phone. You see all like the double, triple negatives in there? So I'm sure that the defense attorney knows what was on the phone. I'm sure his client told him what was on the phone. I'm sure that they are going to use that in his defense. Chantal, thanks for tuning in from Canada. Says, what I love about Mel's channel, no case is ever what it seems on the surface. There are always layers. I know. Try and pick the most interesting ones for you because we don't know. There's a lot of rumor and speculation out there. Maybe the judge was doing something good to try and help the family in some way. Maybe the judge was doing something bad to try and harm the family in some way. There's so much that we don't know. And that's why all the rumors and speculation in the chat are being deleted, because we don't like to spread rumor and speculation. And I will tell you from personal experience that the defense attorneys and the prosecution are watching this chat and others who are handling this case, because you, my friends, you are the mirror jury pool. You are. And they're looking to chats in all kinds of places to see what you people are thinking. You guys, my cupcakes. And I don't want to spread any rumors about a young girl and a dead man. Let's wait until we hear the evidence. They've got the evidence. In my opinion, they should get her phone too. But there's always at least 3 sides to every story. Prosecution side, the defense side, and the truth. Thanks, Aga. There's a lot more to this story, Higher Truth Art. I believe you. Right. The sheriff does look at peace. I'll allow it. I'll allow talking about demeanor, credibility, demeanor of the witnesses. I don't like or allow, really, body shaming comments about witnesses, defendants, parties,
Did you
allusions to
attempt
sexual
speak
orientation.
to Sheriff Stines at the Leslie County
Just be nice.
Jail after the incident?
No,
Did anyone from your agency attempt to interview him?
not to my knowledge, no.
And at that point, had he asserted his right to an attorney or anything?
No,
But nobody went back to try to talk to him or do an interview?
no.
I think I have one other question. In addition to cell phones that we discussed, the cell phone of Sheriff Stines and the cell phone that you found of Judge Mullins, were there additional phones that you were able to obtain?
There was one other phone that's currently being examined, and the basic reason it was seized was there was a text conversation between Sheriff Stines and some of his employees with the sheriff's office.
Okay, and that was an additional phone of Sheriff Stines.
It was a phone of, I guess she's the, I don't know what her title is, but she's employed. She's not sworn. She's employed by the Letcher County Sheriff's Office. And she voluntarily gave her phone to the person that interviewed her.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, could you explain why that was relevant or germane to your investigation?
I didn't conduct that interview, but it was, I guess it was regarding the dinner at Streetside and things that led up to the shooting. But I don't have those results either, so I don't know exactly what was said.
He's not giving anything. He's keeping it all close to the vest.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought when we discussed that earlier that you indicated there was no evidence that the conversations at the lunch.
I haven't seen those conversations yet. I've not received the downloads from the phone.
Right, but I asked you if you're aware of any information that could have been gleaned from witnesses at that meeting. And as I recall, you said no, but there is some information that something was discussed at this lunch. Is that correct?
I don't know what was discussed at lunch.
I understand, but you obtained this lady that we don't know her name. You obtained her phone in an effort or based on a belief that she would be able to demonstrate what was said at lunch. So you would agree with me. You believe that there is a witness or information that may have popped up at lunch.
There's a recorded interview with her in the case, and I'm yet to receive the downloads of the phone, so I don't know what they contain.
Okay. Has that phone been sent to the
It is.
forensic examination as well?
Yes.
Thank you. Also, that's all I have. Thank you.
Redirect. Has Judge Mullins, he sent to medical examiner's office for autopsy?
He was.
Have you received that report yet?
No.
Have you had an informal conversation with him regarding his cause of death?
I don't know if he's speaking really quickly, but he's asking if it is on normal speed, if they got the autopsy report back.
Yes.
And what was that?
Multiple gunshot wounds.
The video we showed earlier, that a true and accurate clip copy of what you received?
Yes.
Councilman introduce Councilman Zimmer, 1 year old.
Any objection?
Your Honor, I'd ask the Of course, all we saw today was the clip, but I asked it be admitted in its entirety, Your Honor.
You want to respond to that?
Did not, I don't think preliminary hearings require, of course, probable cause, this statute probable cause, I think the entire clip is outside the purview of these proceedings today.
Yeah, I think if you want to see the whole video, you should have objected earlier. I'll admit the short clip. Yeah. I have the clerk enter that as exhibit number 1.
Thank you, Shiraz, for gifting 20 memberships. My goodness, my dear, you're very, very sweet and generous. To all of you who received them, thank you so much. And then Shiraz gifted another 5 memberships. Everybody, thanks Shiraz so very much for her generosity today. Thanks, my dear. That is so sweet of you. And to all of you who received them, congrats. What an awesome gift. And Wanda gifted a membership too. Thank you, Wanda. My classy cupcakes and Queen Olive as well. As I just said, Queen Olive. Thank you so much.
And Detective, this is an ongoing investigation.
Yes, it is.
And as this ongoing investigation proceeds, you will be also interviewing more people if necessary, submitting more evidence to the lab.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Recross.
All right. Any other witnesses for the Commonwealth?
No,
All right. You may sit down. Any witnesses for the defendant? I'll find probable cause and bind this case over the grand jury. Anything else? Anything else before we adjourn court?
Well, that was a quick decision. Imagine a judge ruling from the bench in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Good on you, Your Honor. I find probable cause. I'm turning this over to the grand jury. Thank you. Goodbye. Didn't say I'll take it under advisement. I'll let you know in 67 days or so. Nope. He's getting right to it.
There's no, we're not allowed to sum up, Judge, what.
Oh, if you want to make an argument, sure.
It seems like I may change your mind, Judge.
It is a probable cause hearing, so, but yes,
I understand.
take your best shot.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well,
Hit me with your best shot.
so, murder under our statute, as the court knows, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but if there is an issue as to extreme emotional disturbance, then there has to be some evidence that would rebut that. And specifically, when I asked the witness today if there was any evidence to rebut that this occurred as a direct result in the moment of this observation, they have none at this point. And I get it's just probable cause, but I think they've established probable cause for manslaughter first, but not murder. Because I've heard nothing that indicates that this is not, an example of an extreme emotional disturbance relative to the following. At any rate, Judge, respectfully, I understand the court's previous ruling, but I did want to address that with you.
No, that's fine. Let
Thank
the
you, Your Honor.
Commonwealth respond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Extreme emotional disturbance is a defense. There's not been a defense presented here to this court today. The evidence presented to this court today is that the judge was intentionally shot and killed, shot multiple times by the sheriff, and there's probable cause to bind the grand jury murder charge.
Yeah, I agree. There's probable cause to proceed as murder.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Say, yep.
Anything else before we adjourn court today?
Your Honor, in terms of, we'd like to discuss, if we could, lodging from here where he's transported. Is it the court's intention to have him take, and I don't want to discuss that potentially publicly, Your Honor.
I'm not sure I can make that, help you on that.
Yes, Your Honor. So,
I mean, we could, you're welcome to staff court and discuss that, but I'm not sure I can tell the.
yes, Your Honor. So the transport order that was entered that will direct Sheriff Stines to go back to where he came from, Judge, is that fair?
Let's adjourn court and we'll talk about that.
Yes, sir.
I don't know that I can change where he's going to be at.
I understand. Yes, sir.
We can discuss it. All right.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Court's adjourned.
Yes, sir.
They're talking about his transport from wherever he's being held, whatever jail he's being held at. But my understanding was that he was moved from Letcher County to Morgan County, and he's being held in the Morgan County jail. I don't know what it's called, but I guess for purposes of safety, they should not discuss that in open court. Let's just see what we see in the gallery here. It's pretty full. It's a beautiful courtroom. It's hard to tell how much media is there, how much family is there, but it looks like that is the judge's family right in this front row that we are seeing, I believe. And then on the other side of the courtroom is the sheriff's family. Julie says they don't televise grand juries, do they? Oh, no. Top secret. Top secret. And that is the end of that hearing. It's going to a grand jury. There is no future hearing date set as of yet. That is where we are so far. I'm going to look to the chat for questions. This is one of those sort of topics that, YouTube likes to maybe shadow ban and doesn't really like me to talk about. So before we get into the lawsuit, I would like for you to listen to a word from my sponsor. For those of you who don't know about the horrific conditions in Western North Carolina and other parts of Florida, Georgia, the hurricane, very sadly, tragedies like this and disasters like this, for some reason, make scammers come out of the woodwork. I have a sponsor for this show. I have a sponsor for the channel. Sponsor enables me to cover topics like this. So I'm just going to let you listen to a brief word from my sponsor. And I appreciate you so much for doing that and indulging me. Also, we heard yesterday there was breaking news that Bank of America had a major shutdown or hack. We're not sure yet. But listen to a word from my sponsor, Aura, who can help you for free for 2 weeks. Today's video is sponsored by Aura. And it's a really important time to be talking about them because hackers may have stolen the social security numbers of every. A second, did I even? Oh, that's hilarious. The ad isn't running. That's hilarious. I'm sitting here like doing my lipstick and I didn't share the screen with you. Duh. What had happened was, all right, you know what? Since you guys are so cool about it, I'm going to put the ad on double speed, okay? So that it'll go fast. I thought I shared the screen, but it's like whatever day it is. 1.5. Today's video is sponsored by Aura, and it's a really important time to be talking about them because hackers may have stolen the social security numbers of every American. Over 2.9 billion records were stolen from National Public Data, which offers personal information to employers, private investigators, staffing agencies, and others doing background checks. These stolen records include a person's full name, address, date of birth, social security number, and phone number, along with alternate names and birth date. And members of this hacker group have reportedly released this information on the dark web for free. I don't know if you've ever had your identity stolen, but I've had clients who've had their identity stolen. And not only is it a major hassle, but oftentimes before you find out, it's too late. The damage can take years to undo, and it's a hassle that you definitely do not want to deal with. So if you haven't been taking precautions before with your personal information online, this should be a huge wake-up call. You've never been more vulnerable online than you are right now. But I'm not too worried about it because I use Aura. Aura alerts me if they find my phone number, my email, my social security number, or any other personal information on the dark web. They're going to let me know fast if anyone tries to use this information to access my credit or bank accounts, to give me up to $5 million in identity theft insurance should the worst case scenario happen. They also provide a bunch of other features to keep you safe online, all inside one app. And you can go to my link at www.aura.com/Melanie Little to try it for free for 14 days. That'll be enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal information or data has been exposed. I highly recommend you do this right now because not only is National Public Data not going to do anything to help you, they probably aren't even going to face any repercussions for this breach. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, you want to go to my link, www.aura.com/Melanie Little, to try 2 weeks for free. You can thank me later. You can thank me later. I know, if it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not one thing, it's another. I'm telling you, it is always something with me. I'm swiping myself out. Swiper keeps swiping. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. I'm here to offer you a solution. Somebody actually just said that somebody just tried to open a Bank of America credit card. Somebody already tried to open a Bank of America credit card in your name. Zombie Games. See? If you had Aura, they would do it for you. Tell you exactly what to do. This is insane. Yeah, not only that, Verizon had like a nationwide outage the other day. I'm telling you, they're hacking every single day. You need to protect yourself. Oh, that happened to you? Bank of America did that to you too? That's crazy. All right. Law Junkie says, we need to discuss Kevin Gregg unedited video. OMG, I stopped in 3 minutes to wait for you. He is insane. There's so many things to cover right now that it is just, I want to go over the Brian Walsh documents with you. Maybe I should just stay on all day and night. You know? Witchy Woman. I love a song title in a name. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Kristen, I live in Kentucky. From the people I've talked to regarding this case, we believe justice was served if his teenage daughter was involved. You know, there are two theories, right? The one is that, I'm just going to say it, you know, in a benign way, okay? One is that perhaps the judge was doing something nefarious with the daughter. The other is that the judge was helping the family escape from the possibly abusive sheriff. We don't know. We don't know enough about it, right? But it seems to me that the judge seems to think he has some sort of heat of passion defense. And so let's just all take a step back and wait for some more information to come out. But what I want to do is show you this lawsuit. It's a federal lawsuit that, interestingly enough, was stayed during the criminal prosecution. So for those of you who were with me this morning when we talked about the Karen Reed civil case that the O'Keefes brought against her, Karen Reed has made a motion to stay the civil lawsuit during the proceedings. Yes, I know. I covered that this morning, Justice for Truth. Were you not here? What do you think? I'm not on top of things. She's saying new docs were filed in Karen Reed civil case. Just did it this morning. Already done, babe. Already done. We were on here. 9:05 a.m. You got to go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. Karen Reed has made a motion to stay the civil case pending the criminal proceedings. In this particular case that we're going to look at right now, this Pikeville Division federal lawsuit that was filed in 2022 on behalf of the plaintiffs Sabrina Adkins and Jennifer Hill, the criminal proceedings against Ben Fields, he's the perpetrator here, Because the criminal proceedings against Ben Fields were ongoing, this federal case was stayed until it finished. It happens often, happens a lot. Thank you, Angie. I am on it always, always. Always. In fact, I found those documents last night and I was like, I should do it now. And then I was like, I can wait until the morning. But you know what happens when you put it up ahead of time, somebody stream swipes you and then they try and cover it before you do. So it's like a whole game out there. Not that I think it's a competition, but it's like, you heard it here first, right? Okay. Here's the federal lawsuit. And the reason that I am telling you their names is because Sabrina Adkins has been very public about this lawsuit. Jennifer Hill died of a drug overdose after this lawsuit was filed. She is no longer, sadly. Rest in peace, Jennifer Hill. This lawsuit was on behalf of both of these women as plaintiffs against Ben Fields individually and in his official capacity as a deputy sheriff with the Letcher County Sheriff's Department. Eastern Kentucky Correctional Services, Inc., and Mickey Stines, Letcher County Sheriff, defendants. This is the second amended complaint. I believe that Jennifer Hill was added as a plaintiff. That is why it is the second amended complaint. Had to get these and download these from the federal court system. Pacer, if you know, you know. Nothing's easy. And here is what they allege in their complaint. Introduction. This is a civil action for damages in violation of the constitutional rights of plaintiffs by the defendants acting under the color of state law. In addition, the plaintiffs allege that the defendants are liable also under state law. Plaintiffs assert that the defendant Fields, in his individual and official capacities, violated plaintiffs' rights secured by the 4th and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution by subjecting plaintiffs to arbitrary action, unreasonable search and seizure, and deprivation of liberty. The plaintiffs also allege that the defendant Fields is liable under state law for damages for false imprisonment, assault and battery, malicious prosecution, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, and gross negligence. Defendant Eastern Kentucky Correctional Services, EKCS, and defendant Letcher County Sheriff Stines, defendant Stines, are alleged to be liable to plaintiffs for deliberate indifference in failing to adequately train and supervise defendant Fields and for state law violations related to failure to supervise and train defendant Fields. Jurisdiction and venue, we can kind of skip over that. Parties, Sabrina is a resident of Pike County. Jennifer was a resident of Perry County. Defendant Fields was at all times relevant to this complaint, acting as Letcher County Deputy Sheriff. Okay, so Fields worked under Stines, and it's going to be alleged here that Stines failed to properly supervise him, train him, etc. Defendant Fields is sued in his official capacity on the declaratory relief and damages claims and his individual capacity as to all claims set forth herein. Upon information and belief, defendant Fields is a resident of Letcher. I keep wanting to say Lecter, like Hannibal Lecter, but it's Letcher County, Kentucky. At all times relevant here too, defendant Fields was acting under color of state law in performing the acts or omissions complained of in this complaint. Defendant EKCS is a for-profit Kentucky corporation engaged in the business of providing pretrial ankle monitoring services in Letcher County, Kentucky, and qualifies as a state actor acting under color of state law. Defendant Stines is the duly elected Letcher County Sheriff, elected pursuant to the Kentucky Constitution, Section 99, and regulated by KRS Chapter 70. At all times relevant here too, defendant Stines was acting under color of state law in performing the acts or omissions complained of in the complaint. And for those of you just joining in who weren't here for the beginning of the stream, defendant, who's also the defendant in the shooting of the judge, Sheriff Stines, did a deposition in this case that I'm telling you about now, the Monday before the Thursday shooting. We don't know if this was a trigger or had anything to do with it, but it is absolutely imperative that we look at this just the same, because that's what we do here. Factual allegations related to Sabrina. Sabrina was arrested in Letcher County, Kentucky in April of 2021. From April of 2021 through June 2nd of 2021, Sabrina was incarcerated at the Letcher County Jail. In early June 2021, Sabrina was released from the Letcher County Jail and placed on home incarceration. Defendant Fields, a deputy sheriff with the Letcher County Sheriff's Department, was assigned to be Sabrina's home incarceration officer. After she was released, Sabrina had a difficult time finding housing accommodations in Letcher County. Defendant Fields was aware of Sabrina's housing issues as well as Sabrina's domestic issues. Defendant Fields visited Sabrina in the evening the night she was released from the Letcher County Jail to bring her cigarettes and to, quote, console her. Defendant Fields, At this time, Sabrina notified Defendant Fields that she did not have the money to pay for her ankle bracelet, but she was terrified to return to the Letcher County Jail. Let me put up a trigger warning for this. Defendant Fields made flirtatious comments about Sabrina's looks and body and told her that he was confident that they could work something out. Sabrina understood these communications to mean that she would receive favorable treatment from Defendant Fields if she provided him with sexual favors. Thereafter, Sabrina and Defendant Fields communicated on a regular basis by text messages. In late June of 2021, Defendant Fields asked Sabrina to meet him at the Letcher County Courthouse in the evening after dark. Breaking from the document to tell you, this is the same courthouse in which the judge was shot by the sheriff. Defendant Fields took Sabrina into District Judge Mullins' chambers, telling Sabrina that he wanted to meet her there because there were no cameras. Maybe that's why they have the cameras now. In fact, I would bet on it. At this time, Defendant Fields took off Sabrina's ankle monitor and told her that she would not have to pay the associated fees any longer, but could remain out on home incarceration. Between late June and December 2021, Defendant Fields met Sabrina at the Letcher County Courthouse in the evening or early morning hours, approximately 6 times. 6 times in Judge Mullins' chambers. During these meetings, Defendant Fields' behavior escalated from flirtatious comments to forcible kissing to oral to intercourse with Sabrina, all of which occurred at the Letcher County Courthouse after hours in Judge Mullins' chambers, here and after the SA. Sabrina was coerced and compelled to comply with Defendant Fields' advances, given Defendant Fields' position of power, because she could not afford to pay for the ankle monitor and did not want to return to the Letcher County Jail. Sabrina did not consent to the SA. These meetings would typically occur the night before Sabrina had a court appearance, and Defendant Fields would put Sabrina's ankle monitor back on and otherwise fix it up so that she would appear compliant with her home incarceration the following day. Upon information and belief in December of 2021, certain persons at the Letcher County Courthouse were notified that Defendant Fields was having inappropriate communications and/or relations with Sabrina, and were provided text messages evidencing the inappropriate communications and relations. Who? Certain persons at the Letcher County Courthouse. Upon information and belief, Defendant Fields stopped communicating. Upon information and belief, Defendant Fields became aware of the information contained in the preceding paragraph. So he became aware of the people in the courthouse that were made aware of what he was doing in the judge's chambers with Sabrina after hours or before hours, either way. In late December of 2021, Defendant Fields stopped communicating with Sabrina by text message or otherwise. Upon information and belief, in early January of 2022, Defendant Fields filed a complaint against Sabrina, claiming that she claiming that she was not complying with the terms of her home incarceration. Mhm. The Astro from space, and they telling me that the judge and the sheriff didn't know. Yeah, okay, that could mean that. That could mean that. Upon information and belief, this complaint was filed maliciously by defendant Fields in an effort to punish Sabrina and in an attempt to save his own job and reputation. Sabrina was arrested on January 26, 2022 in Pike County, Kentucky. Sabrina was terrified that she would be transferred to the Letcher County Jail, where upon information and belief, defendant Fields' wife is employed as an officer, and where upon information and belief, defendant Fields was previously employed. Sabrina had and continues to have serious concerns for her safety and welfare if she were to be transferred to the Letcher County Jail. As a direct and proximate result of the defendant's actions, Sabrina has suffered and continues to suffer emotional distress, pain and suffering, and mental anguish. Here's the factual background related to Jennifer. May she rest in peace. After her death, these claims were discontinued, but I think it's important for us to read about them. Jennifer was arrested in Letcher County in 2019 and incarcerated at the Letcher County Jail. The Letcher County Jail is housed below the Letcher County Courthouse in the same building. In approximately August of 2020, Jennifer was put on home incarceration and to be supervised by defendant Fields. When Jennifer was first notified that she would be let out on home incarceration, defendant Fields took Jennifer to a small room in the Letcher County Jail to put her ankle monitor on. At this time, defendant Fields told Jennifer that if she could not afford to pay the home incarceration fees, they could work something out. When Jennifer asked defendant Fields for clarification, he told her that if Jennifer would do him a favor, he would do her a favor. Jennifer understood defendant Fields to be asking for sex in exchange for waiver of home incarceration fees. Jennifer told him no, and that she was not interested. Defendant Fields had previously gone to Jennifer's home to install a box, which at that time was necessary for home incarceration, and further verified that the home was satisfactory and otherwise complied with home incarceration requirements. 3 days later, defendant Fields showed up at Jennifer's home and arrested her because purportedly her home was not properly maintained for home incarceration. Let's put this back into the box of you can't make this up. That truth is stranger than fiction and more horrifying than fiction in so many ways. This was pretext, and upon information and belief, Jennifer was arrested because she refused to comply with defendant Fields' request for sex. Jennifer was finally released from custody sometime later that same year. On or about August 17th, 2021, Jennifer was again arrested in Letcher County, and soon thereafter she was bonded out of jail on the condition that she comply with home incarceration. Defendant Fields came to the Letcher County Jail to put an ankle monitor on Jennifer. Then, within a few days, defendant Fields showed up at Jennifer's home with Sheriff Mickey Stines, the other law enforcement officers, and an ambulance, and claimed that they were responding to a report that Jennifer had overdosed. This was false, and Jennifer was in the process of unloading groceries from the car when these individuals arrived. Okay, I want to point out that sadly and ironically and horrifically, Jennifer wound up dying of a drug overdose after this lawsuit was filed. Upon information and belief, this report and visit were orchestrated by defendant Fields in an attempt to intimidate and harass Jennifer. The sheriff has entered the document. Defendant Fields stayed at Jennifer's home after all the other law enforcement and emergency service persons left and threatened to take Jennifer in for a drug screen in a further attempt to intimidate and harass Jennifer. The next day, defendant Fields returned to Jennifer's house and parked his Letcher County Sheriff's Department vehicle behind her house where it was hidden from passersby. Defendant Fields knocked on Jennifer's door and instructed Jennifer that if she did not do as he said, he would put her back in jail. Defendant Fields told Jennifer that if she made him happy, he would make her happy. He further told her that he was not happy, that he further told her that if he was not happy, neither of them would be happy. Jennifer understood him to mean that if she did not do as he instructed, he would make sure she ended up back in jail as he had done the prior year. Defendant Fields then commanded Jennifer to come outside and get into the front seat of his vehicle, which she did. Defendant Fields then got into the front seat of the vehicle and also told Jennifer that he wanted oral. Jennifer involuntarily complied with Defendant Fields' instruction. Thereafter, Defendant Fields offered to pay Jennifer's home incarceration fees. Jennifer's fiance assisted her with these payments, and she did not want him to find out about her interactions with Defendant Fields, so she said no. All right, we're learning that Jennifer was engaged. Defendant Fields then notified Jennifer that he would be back in a couple of days and left. Jennifer told a friend and roommate about what occurred, but did not tell her fiance about Defendant Fields at this time. Approximately 3 days later, Defendant Fields returned to Jennifer's home and in a similar fashion instructed her to have intercourse with him in the backseat of the Letcher County Sheriff's Department while he was driving. Oh no, not while he was driving, sorry. In the backseat of the Letcher County Sheriff's Department vehicle that he was driving. Jennifer involuntarily complied with the Defendant Fields' instructions. Defendant Fields again told Jennifer that if she kept him happy, he would keep her happy. And told her not to tell anyone about what had occurred. There were 2 additional times in the weeks and months that followed when Defendant Fields similarly came to Jennifer's home and instructed her to have intercourse with him in the backseat of his Letcher County Sheriff's Department vehicle. Jennifer involuntarily complied with his instruction on these occasions also. Jennifer told her roommate and a friend about these additional instances of SA on or about the dates they occurred. Each time Defendant Fields came to Jennifer's house for sex, he was wearing his Letcher County Sheriff's Department uniform, driving his Letcher County Sheriff's Department vehicle. Yeah, this is Birchmore vibes, giving me Birchmore 2.0 vibes too. Yep. This makes me sick. Huge escalation from the first victim. Attorney Adam Lally is so curious how much Stines knew about this. There's no allegations in the lawsuit that he did know, just that he improperly supervised and trained him. So we need to just make that clear. We don't know what he said during his deposition that was given 3 days before he shot the judge. Did the judge know about it? That remains to be seen. He's not named in this lawsuit. But it was in his chambers. How would they have access to? I have questions. Each time Defendant Fields came to Jennifer's house for sex, he reminded her that she needed to keep him happy and that he could have her arrested and put in jail where he would make her life miserable. Jennifer was coerced and compelled to comply with Defendant Fields' instructions. Given Defendant Fields' position of power over her, Jennifer did not consent to this essay. On or about October 2021, Defendant Fields came to Jennifer's home and demanded sex. Jennifer told Defendant Fields that she could not have sex with him, telling him that her fiance was on his way home. On this same occasion, she asked Defendant Fields if she could go visit her newborn granddaughter in London, Kentucky. Defendant Fields agreed and removed Jennifer's ankle monitors so she could make this trip. Upon information and belief, Defendant Fields then reported that Jennifer had violated a condition of her bond and she was arrested. At the time she was arrested, Jennifer's belongings, including her cell phone, were confiscated. Jennifer remained incarcerated in the Letcher County Jail from late October 2021 through December 17th of 2021. Within the first couple of days after her arrest, in the presence of Deputy Sheriff Whitaker, Defendant Fields told Jennifer to remember what I told you and keep your mouth shut. On approximately 3 occasions, Defendant Fields and his wife, Angie Fields, who worked at the Letcher County Jail, removed Jennifer from her cell in an attempt to gain information regarding other inmates. Upon information and belief, the actions described in the two preceding paragraphs were done to harass and intimidate Jennifer. In December 2021, Jennifer was released from the Letcher County Jail on the condition that she participate in drug court. When Jennifer was leaving the Letcher County Jail, all of her belongings were returned to her except her cell phone, which had mysteriously disappeared. Upon information and belief, defendant Fields or persons working on his behalf took Jennifer's cell phone because there were incriminating communications between Jennifer and defendant Fields on her phone. Just as the Canton Leaf Blower Society has decided to convene underneath my window, hopefully you can't hear it. Upon information and belief, defendant Fields' sister Holly works for the Letcher County Drug Court program. After being released in the presence of Jennifer's fiance, defendant Fields notified Jennifer that his sister Holly had just notified defendant Fields that Jennifer would soon be arrested due to a warrant from another county. I'm going to break to say that this town might be even smaller than Canton in the way that everyone's related. During this same conversation, defendant Fields told Jennifer that she needed to run to avoid arrest, and she did. On December 17th of 2021, a warrant was issued for Jennifer's arrest for a purported drug court violation. The wife is also involved, like a setup. And the sister, what a tangled web. Debbie Blair, Crash Daddy's Cannon, IYKYK. Look at Bernie. Bernie's outraged all over again. Nothing changes. On or about February 4th, 2022, Jennifer was arrested and placed in Perry County, Kentucky, at the Kentucky River Regional Jail on a drug court violation. Jennifer is terrified that she will be returned to the Letcher County Jail, where upon information and belief, defendant Fields' wife remains employed. As a direct and proximate result of the defendant's actions, Jennifer has suffered and continues to suffer emotional distress, pain and suffering, and mental anguish. She has since died of a drug overdose. God rest her soul. I'm going to say alleged drug overdose because now I have questions. Additional factual background related to the EKCS and the Letcher County Sheriff's Department. Upon information and belief, defendant Stines recommended defendant Fields to defendant EKCS for employment. Upon information and belief, they hired Fields in 2020 to oversee the home incarceration ankle monitoring program in Letcher County for the defendant, EKCS. Upon information and belief, EKCS failed to provide defendant Fields with any significant training. EKCS failed to create and check for safeguards to ensure that defendant Fields was providing accurate and truthful information about persons within Letcher County, Kentucky, who were ordered to be put on home incarceration. EKCS knew or should have known that Fields worked as a deputy sheriff in Letcher County and regularly performed services for defendant EKCS while wearing his Letcher County Sheriff's Department uniform and driving in his Letcher County Sheriff's Department's vehicle. Then they alleged defendant Field inaccurately notified EKCS that Sabrina had been taken off house arrest. So this is all going to go to the what they call vicarious liability of the employer, which in this case is the ankle monitoring company. So this is 24 pages long. I'm going to just skip through some of this and just give you the gist. They're going to say that defendant Fields, as well as numerous other persons who worked at Letcher County Jail in December 2021, were aware that Sabrina had made allegations against defendant Fields, that a complaint was made by a friend of Sabrina to persons working in the drug court program about sexual harassment and abuse by Fields against Sabrina, that Sabrina either provided copies of inappropriate text messages between Fields and Sabrina or notified such persons that text messages existed, that Fields and other Letcher County deputy sheriffs were aware of these allegations that Sabrina made in early December of 2021, that defendant Sheriff Mickey Stines knew or should have known about these allegations on or before December 2021. Upon information and belief, these allegations were not appropriately investigated by Sheriff Stines. In early December 2021, Jennifer's fiance called the Letcher County Sheriff's Department to complain about defendant Fields. During this call, Jennifer's fiance spoke to a female Letcher County Sheriff's deputy and notified her that defendant Fields had been sexually harassing Jennifer. This female Letcher County Sheriff's deputy hung up on Jennifer's fiance. Oh, I wonder if it was his wife. The plot thickens. On December 15th, 2021, Jennifer's fiance went to the Letcher County Sheriff's Department in person to make a complaint against defendant Fields. The fiance spoke to Deputy Sheriff Whitaker, who told him that the complaint would be investigated and he needed to keep quiet about this while it was investigated. Oh my gosh, this sounds so much like the church scandal. You go report it to the priests, and the priests tell you to keep it quiet while we investigate. Very soon after leaving the sheriff's department, Jennifer's fiance was pulled over in his vehicle by Letcher County Deputy Sheriff Norris, who was accompanied by a female deputy. Right after he leaves, after making the complaint, he gets pulled over by another deputy sheriff and a female deputy. Is there anything to say other than wow? I have special emojis for members. It's one of the perks here. We have a wow emoji, I think. There it is. It's hard to read. This just keeps getting worse and worse, and I did not read this in its entirety, so this is my real natural reaction. Here we are again. Twilight Zone emojis. All of these reusable emojis from the lies, 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 yeah. Karen retrial. I'm disgusted. The fiance gets pulled over. Deputy Norris asked Jennifer's fiance what the F he thought he was doing and told him that he needed to keep his effing nose out of the sheriff's department's business. Later that same day, Jennifer's fiance was pulled over again by a man who refused to identify himself by name, who was driving a red Silverado pickup truck, wore a badge, and was carrying a gun. This individual identified himself as being from the sheriff's department, told Jennifer's fiance that he had stuck his nose in where it don't belong, and called him a liar. This individual also told Jennifer's fiance that defendant Fields was involved with people who are high up on the ladder and who he should not mess with. This individual further threatened Jennifer's fiance and his family and told him to forget about his complaint about defendant Fields. During the time that this individual was detaining and threatening Jennifer's fiance, he was speaking to other unknown persons on his cell phone and on a radio in his truck. Upon information and belief, this individual was speaking to other persons employed by the Letcher County Sheriff's Department. The newest emoji here is a duck, because I don't like foul language on this channel. Instead of the F word, you can use the duck. I'm just going to say, what the duck. Kimberlina 15 says, I can't believe what I'm hearing. A couple hours later, Jennifer's fiance was stopped for a third time by another Letcher County Sheriff's deputy driving his official vehicle. This deputy notified Jennifer's fiance that there had been a lot of chatter about defendant Fields in his complaint that day. This deputy then told Jennifer's fiance that they didn't need any trouble like this in the Letcher County Sheriff's Department because they were all barely getting paid as it was. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Jennifer's fiance is going to be a pivotal witness in Sheriff Mickey Stines' defense, or in the prosecutor's case. It could go either way, but I don't know. They didn't need any trouble like this in the Letcher County Sheriff's Department because they were all barely getting paid as it was. Well, they certainly don't make as much as the Canton PD and the Massachusetts State Police. I'll take it. This deputy was also speaking to someone on his cell phone and radio during the exchange. Upon information and belief, the above mentioned communications to Jennifer's fiance were aimed at intimidating, harassing, and silencing Jennifer. I'm just going to pause here to say, everyone, please hit the like button so we don't get shadow banned and it kind of pushes the stream out because these are the kind of things YouTube doesn't like us talking about. I'm thanking you in advance for your kind thumbs up because I'm assuming if you're here, you like this content. And I like having you here with me. And I like to continue to be able to bring you this content and talk about the topics that people don't want me to talk about. IYKYK. Thank you, P. Lola's mom, for loving this community, for thanking me. Howie, thanks for the 5. Wonder if Judge teen kid has some manipulation behind the murder. The judge has a teen kid too? I don't know. But reading this lawsuit with you gives me a whole new perspective on this. Witchy Woman, thanks for becoming a member. I think I did that already. Justice for Truth. Justice is Truth 444. Thanking me for being the best. And I'm so happy that you're a member of the Cupcake Squad too. Justice for Truth. Thank you for the 5. And then another 10. How many times do we have to see law enforcement taking sexual advantage of those that feel they have no other option? I'm shocked out of my little benign world. I'm so disgusted. How pervasive is this? And then another one from Justice is Truth 444, Canton 2.0. And isn't it interesting about what I read to you from the judge's obituary? How he was a strong believer in these programs for drug offenders. Kathy, nope, this is unbelievable and so very sad. Auntie Bev's verdict form, thank you for tuning in from Canada. Did Jennifer unalive herself or is this another sinister cover-up? Bad Sandra Birchmore vibes. I have questions. ME report, FOIA, outrage once again. What the duck? I see you, Auntie Bev's verdict form. WTD, I like it. Try to keep it clean as best we can, even in our outrage. Was she given a hot shot? I need to know more about this overdose. I do have pulled up also an interview with Sabrina, the other plaintiff in this case, published by one of the local newspapers. And then Justice is for Truth says, but these are the things that we must talk about. Yes, we must shine a light on this stuff because a lot of people just don't think that this can happen. A lot of people don't believe that there could be corruption in law enforcement. And I back the blue 100%. I have law enforcement in my family, friends, first responders, all of it. Nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. And just like in every profession, the majority of law enforcement is amazing. They risk their lives every day for us. There's a small percentage of them who are corrupt, just like there are good priests and horrific priests, just like there are good coaches and bad coaches, like Larry Nasser, just like there are, I'm sure, good producers in Hollywood and horrific ones, like Harvey Weinstein, and celebrities like P. Diddy. And it's out there. And there were good Boy Scout leaders and horrific Boy Scout leaders, good camp counselors and horrific camp. I could go on and on and on. So this isn't meant in no way to be bashing law enforcement, but this happens. And if people are afraid to go to their local law enforcement to report things, because look at what happened to Jennifer's fiance, and look at what happened to Jennifer. A lot of mainstream media, I don't even know, mainstream media, Court TV, Law and Crime is talking about this civil lawsuit. But based on the reporting that I saw, and I'm sure they're very, very busy, I cannot fault them at all. I want to know if they actually read this whole complaint because this is horrifying. They kind of touched on it a little bit. I heard Vinny talk about it, and he did talk to the plaintiff's attorney. I don't know if Vinny had the time to read this and know how horrific this complaint is, and how the locals in the town are probably afraid of their own law enforcement. Blueberry, OG. It's mostly money and dirty politics here in Kentucky. I have a felon for a sheriff and other officials that have done horrible things. They sit on the beach as judges now. We saw very similar shenanigans in the Oklahoma Panhandle case. And the crazy situation going on there with the grandmother and her 3 cronies who are sitting in jail awaiting trial for the murder of the 2 Kansas moms that went missing and were found dead. And much of law enforcement, some of law enforcement, it is speculated in that area of the Oklahoma Panhandle, and it's very well known, are perhaps corrupt. Sarah and Shock and Horror, stop, you gotta stop. Gifting 5 memberships. You do so much for me as a moderator. Stop. But I do appreciate you, and I love you so much. I love you so very much. And thank you, Angel or Angel Castillo, for becoming a new member. I appreciate you. You're going to like it here, I think. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's go back to the complaint. Then it goes on to say, upon information and belief, the Letcher County Sheriff's Department failed to investigate the allegations related to Jennifer. That defendant Fields was not trained properly, not supervised properly. And that's how you get vicarious liability on an employer in a civil case. Especially since he's showing up in his uniform and his patrol car and going into the courthouse and the judge's chambers. Upon information and belief, other persons employed by the Letcher County Sheriff's Department have harassed and intimidated persons associated with Sabrina and Jennifer in an attempt to discourage other women from coming forward and to disparage Sabrina and Jennifer. I'm going to break to say, if any of you are watching, there is strength and power in numbers. When we get to the end of this complaint, I will tell you who the plaintiff's attorney is. And if this happened to you, I know it's hard, but I have full faith and confidence that the attorneys at this law firm will believe you and they will fight for you, because nothing happens about this kind of stuff unless people do talk about it and aren't afraid to speak out. Oh. Thanks, Jenny, for gifting a membership. Thank you. Please, no rumors. The boss deals in facts. I'm the boss. Am I the boss? Are we an organized crime family? Cooler? The Cooler? Who knows what that reference is from? The Cooler. If anybody knows, put it in the chat. Another one of my amazing, hardworking moderators, as is Scott Messerschmidt, coming in hot. Thank you, Jenny Grace. Cheryl F. Little Cupcake is in here somewhere. Lizika, hello, my darling. This case is going to be so interesting. Prince Lover, there is so much we don't know. For the 22 beans an hour, you're paying me, you're the boss. Yeah. IYK. Say no more. Wink, nod, wink, nod. Jennifer Kidwell coming in with a hot 10. Kentucky just told Massachusetts, hold my beer and watch this. Unfortunately, the good old boy system is large and in charge in this state. It is so incredibly heartbreaking. Jennifer, are you in Kentucky? Thank you so very much for your support and for chiming in here as a local boots on the ground. Justice is Truth coming in again hot. with another 10. To be honest, I didn't think it was that pervasive in the community. I was SA'd as a child by a family member. Shame is real. I thought it was more of a close family connection issue. How naive am I? Can't blame you. I'm so sorry that that happened to you. Because there's so much shame and guilt and fear involved, because that's what these perpetrators do. I handled, for those of you who know, the plaintiff's cases in New York for the victims and survivors of clergy sex abuse here on Long Island when the church scandal broke against the Catholic Church in 2002. That scandal was made into a movie called Spotlight. So I am very, very familiar with the shame and guilt and embarrassment and feeling that you think it was your fault. It was not your fault. It was not your fault. You did nothing to deserve it. And I'm so sorry that that happened to you. But it happens everywhere. I watch creators, mostly some male creators, talking about this like Madeline Soto case and Stephen Stearns and the mother, and they're so horrified about it. They're like, oh, the mother must have known. Like, they're so horrified. And I'm sitting back and I can't for just whatever reason. It just, that case makes me so sick that I just want to vomit every time I even think of it. I'm like screaming into a closet. This happens every single day, all over the world. I don't even know how many minutes a child is abused, a person is abused sexually. And the statistics show, and this is a horrifying statistic, that an abuser or a pedo will offend at least 100 times before they are caught, if ever. Those are the stats. And we fought for many, many years in New York, lobbied to have the law changed because all the way back in 2002, when my cases broke, the statute of limitations had expired and the highest court in New York threw all the cases out and nobody had any justice or got justice. But there was a very long fight to change the law. And now that's why you see old cases being filed in New York against P. Diddy and others, because they eventually decided, New York was the most friendly state to pedos. If you could keep a kid quiet long enough, you'd never go to jail, never be sued. That has since changed. People woke up. It took, 20 years or so. Thank you for Cherie for gifting a membership. You're so sweet and kind and generous. All right, back to the document. Then they're going to try and hold the sheriff in by saying that the sheriff didn't respond to any requests, didn't respond to any reports or suspicions of SA perpetrated by Fields, and that the plaintiffs suffered severe injuries. Count one is that defendant Fields violated plaintiffs' rights secured by the U.S. Constitution, Fourth Amendment. They go on to explain why. I don't think we need to go through that. We went through the basic facts. Unreasonable search and seizure. 14th Amendment. Fundamental liberty right to personal security and bodily injury. Personal security and bodily integrity, extending specifically to the right to be free from sexual abuse. Defendant Fields did all of these things in violation of the Constitution. That's why this is in federal court. Count three is deliberate indifference and failure to supervise and train, actionable pursuant to 42 U.S. Code Section 1983 against Letcher County Sheriff and EKCS. Defendant Fields was improperly and inadequately trained. I'll scroll by this slowly in case you want to come back and read it for yourself later. You can always, stop the stream and replay and read about it in all its horror. And they allege negligence, gross negligence, assault and battery against defendant Fields. Grossly negligent infliction of emotional distress against Fields. intentional infliction of emotional distress against Fields, negligent retention, training, supervision. Let me see what the specifics are against Stines. Guess he was included in there as an employee of the sheriff's department. They're also asking for punitive damages. And here's the name of the law firm. Bethany Baxter is the attorney who signed this complaint. The name of the law firm is Childers and Baxter in Lexington, Kentucky. In case anybody needs that information or their emails. And Ned Pillersdorf at Pillersdorf Law Offices in Prestonburg, Kentucky. So, the sheriff, Mickey Stines, was forced to give a deposition in this case the Monday prior to the shooting. I have questions. According to the plaintiff's attorney, who spoke to Vinnie Politan on Court TV, he said that the sheriff was in his office for about 8 hours on the Monday. Couldn't really talk about what he talked about or testified to, and that I agree with. But I have questions. Based on the questioning of the sheriff, did the sheriff come to any hypothesis? Did he come to any sort of conclusions based on the questioning that I'm just hypothesizing here? I'm just spitballing, just tossing it out, that the judge knew or might have known about what was going on in his chambers? Right? I don't know. Maybe this lawsuit has nothing to do with it. Maybe it has nothing to do with it. But I want to show you an article from January 2024 from the Mountain Eagle, which I imagine is a local publication, Kentucky. And this is talking about what happened to Fields. And it also has a bit of an interview with Sabrina, one of the named plaintiffs in that lawsuit. Kathy said maybe the judge knew what was going on in his chambers and the sheriff didn't. At this point, anything is possible, right? Astro from Space says, I wonder how she answered that phone, because after that answer, pew pew 8 times, right? How can we find out what was said during the deposition? You probably can't. I mean, deposition transcripts are not public. They're not filed with the court. They're not in New York. I don't think they are in Kentucky. Well, it's federal court. I don't know. Hi, Lindsay. So they just sent you an email detailing another lawsuit against Stines in 2019. I think it was dismissed, but he immediately played immunity card. Being an elected official, I think the deposition set him off. Lindsay, are you local to the area? Because you seem to have a lot of info on this case, so I appreciate your input. Thank you so much. Danny says, I want to know more about the kidnapping bit. Yeah. The judge was going to kidnap. Do we know? And I tried looking for this, but I couldn't find it in the court records, because a lot of times family court records are not public and you can't access them. But I will say that Kentucky is very open with their court records, unlike Massachusetts. You can't get anything. Kentucky, the records are pretty free to get. Like you can access them. Family court records often are not. I don't know what was going on with the sheriff and his wife. I don't know if there was any family court proceeding going on. I don't know if there were any allegations of DV against either of them. I don't know if there were any dissolution proceedings or divorce proceedings. I just don't know. We're about to find out, says Parody Paralegal. Cat's Pajamas, thanks for the Canadian 10. Sheds a new light on Sheriff Stines' kidnapping comment, hearing about the intimidation, etc., in this case against Fields. Bernie, thank you, Bernie. Never stop saying what you're saying, Melanie, for giving a voice to the voiceless. Thank you. I'm also losing my voice because I've been reading to you so much today, but you know what? It's worth it. Totally worth it. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you to all of you who appreciate it. I appreciate you just as much, if not more. Take a look at this article because we come with receipts. As always. Shout out to the Mountain Eagle who reported on this debacle horror story back on January 10th of 2024. Look who wrote this article. Sam Adams is the author. Oh, Boston. We just can't get away from Boston. Sam Adams has entered the chat. It's entitled Ex-Deputy Sheriff is Sentenced, One Victim Tells of Nightmares. I'm going to try to use my best ASMR voice for those of you who are going to be listening to me while you're trying to go to sleep, but you may be so outraged you won't be able to sleep anyway. A former Letcher County deputy sheriff who pleaded guilty to raping a female prisoner who was on home incarceration will spend 6 months in the Letcher County Jail, where he formerly worked as a deputy jailer. Okay, first of all, they're putting him in the same jail that he used to work at, the same one that his wife works at? Okay. Ben Fields, who was a court security officer for the sheriff's office and worked a side job for a monitoring company, the ankle monitoring company, Eastern Kentucky Correctional Services, was sentenced last week to 7 years total, with 6.5 of that to be spent on probation. Yep. Fields was indicted on 7 felony counts and 1 misdemeanor. The criminal charges followed a lawsuit filed by 2 women in March of 22, both former inmates in the Letcher County Jail, where Fields worked as a deputy jailer before being hired by the sheriff's office. And no, you can't make this up. You just can't. When the crimes occurred, Fields had left his job at the jail to work as a court security officer in Letcher District Court and worked for Eastern Kentucky Correctional Services, Inc., which provides electronic monitoring devices to prisoners who have been placed on house arrest as a condition of their bail. Prisoners are required to pay for the monitoring. The women sued Fields, Eastern Kentucky Correctional Services, Inc., and Letcher County Sheriff Mickey Stines in his official capacity, claiming Fields used his position to pressure them into having sex with him, and that EKCS and Stines did not sufficiently train and supervise him. The case was filed in U.S. District Court in Pikeville and had been on hold while the criminal case progressed. See, that's what they call stayed. The case was stayed while the criminal case was ongoing, just like Karen Reed's attorneys in the civil case asked to happen in Massachusetts. But despite Massachusetts being in the Northeast, we have found out Massachusetts is really the Wild West. So who knows? The women claimed Fields told them he would not make them pay for the monitoring if they would do him a favor. We just read the whole lawsuit. Fields disabled the devices, told the monitoring company that bail conditions had been changed, so the devices were not required, and then used threats of arrest to force the women to have sex with him. When Letcher Circuit Judge James Kraft II asked Fields for GPS coordinates for one of the subjects for a court appearance, Fields said he couldn't locate her and filed an escape charge against her, court records show. The Mountain Eagle does not normally identify victims of sexual crimes. However, one remaining victim spoke to a reporter at the paper on the record and testified to many of the same things in sworn testimony during the sentencing. The other alleged victim died of a drug overdose after the suit was filed. Allegedly. I'm going to throw in allegedly there. Anybody know what a hot shot is? Okay. Sabrina Adkins, 47, of Pikeville, who was in jail on drug charges at the time the crimes occurred, said she has completed rehab and hopes to become a domestic violence counselor. She said she had a career before addiction and wants a normal life again. I was clean for 18 years, she said. I had a career. I had a family. She said that all changed when her brother, who she raised after their parents died, also died. I started drinking. I just fell into it, she said. There's no excuse. It was something I needed in my body every day. She spent the following 10 years in addiction and says she's now been off illegal drugs for 13 months. She said she was using methamphetamines when she was arrested. While she's no longer taking illegal drugs, she said the crimes Fields committed against her have left her unable to function without medicine prescribed for post-traumatic stress disorder. She said she has been in the psychiatric hospital several times since the incidents occurred and continues to take trauma counseling. My nightmares got so bad I had to go on medicine and probably will be for the rest of my life, she said to Fields during the video sentencing. Did you know I tried to kill myself twice? If anybody knows how to find that video sentencing of Fields, maybe one of the mods can throw my email up there and I'll look for it, but who knows if it's public, if it was a Zoom thing, I don't know. Adkins also accuses others of involvement in her situation and that of the other woman who filed suit against Fields. She alleged harassment by other sheriff's deputies and attests other sheriff's deputies and arrests based on false information given by Fields. Stines declined to comment. Mickey Stines, defendant in the case for shooting the judge, citing the continuing civil case. However, the criminal court record shows at one point a warrant was issued for Adkins because Judge James W. Kraft II asked Fields to bring her to court, and Fields told the judge he couldn't find her because she had taken off her bracelet and escaped. It's in the court records. She also alleged that a male relative of Fields, who he introduced to her, also coerced her to have sex with him because he had pull with the court. She said that she talked to Fields on Facebook Messenger, but the other man never sent her any messages. He wasn't charged because she had no proof. What do I say about Facebook? Nothing good happens on Facebook. Adkins says she believes that man is still doing the same thing to other women because she went to court for a hearing on a charge of driving under the influence and saw him sitting in the gallery whispering to another female defendant with his arm around her. He was right there in the courtroom asking her to go out to dinner with him, she said. I felt physically sick. Fields was accused of having sex with Adkins in his car, in the district judge's office, and in an elevator at the Letcher County Courthouse. The grand jury on September 29, 2022, charged him with 2 counts of third-degree rape, 2 counts of third-degree sodomy, and 3 counts of tampering with a prisoner monitoring device. All those charges are felonies. He was also charged with 1 count of second-degree perjury, a misdemeanor related to him allegedly filing a false complaint. I'm going to point out again, a little bit louder for those in the back. No criminal charges were ever brought against this monster until the civil lawsuit was filed. And then they couldn't ignore it because now it was a public document, federal court document. The case was prosecuted by Barbara Whaley of the Kentucky Attorney General's office, to fly, and was heard by Pike Circuit Court Judge Eddie Coleman. Court documents show hearings were held in at least 3 counties other than Letcher. Fields pleaded guilty to third-degree rape, third-degree sodomy, 2 counts of tampering with prisoner monitoring device, and second-degree perjury. The 3 charges related to the second woman were dismissed because she's now dead. But the civil case is continuing with her estate as plaintiff along with Adkins. The court cases do not specify how she died. In return for the guilty plea, the judge followed the recommendation in the plea agreement and sentenced Fields to 5 years each for rape and the 2 tampering charges, but that time be probated for 7 years with supervision for 5 years. The perjury sentence of 12 months was conditionally discharged for 12 months. Fields will serve 6 months in jail and is required to register as a sex offender and complete outpatient sex offender treatment. Protective orders will be in place and effective for 10 years. And if you weren't outraged already, you might be now. Who knows how many other women are out there? Who knows how many other victims are out there? Judge Coleman, acting as special Letcher County Circuit Judge in the case, said consequences of the case reach far beyond its direct victims. Well, I have questions now. Was Judge Coleman acting as special judge because the judge who normally would have heard that, who is now dead, Judge Kevin Mullins, was maybe not allowing, maybe he didn't even know, but that this behavior was going on, these acts of rape in his chambers after hours and before hours? Just a guess, but I'm pretty sure that's probably why they brought in a special judge. That Judge Coleman, acting as a special Letcher County Circuit Judge in the case, said consequences of the case reach far beyond its direct victims. I recognize Miss Adkins is a victim, Coleman said. I also believe the criminal justice system is a victim in this case. When people behave this way, as Mr. Fields has behaved, it does create a story people can use when they talk about judges, lawyers, officers, and the court system. Really? That's your quote, Your Honor? That's your quote? The criminal justice system is also a victim? Because now people can, I don't know, diss your county? What? What the what? Okay, I'm going to close that out before it just makes me angrier. And I don't need to be even more angrier today than I already am. But suffice to say that I believe that there is a whole lot more to this story than we are privy to right now. And that is why speculation, rumor, not always a great thing. For example, there is one rumor, I'm not even going to put it up here, but somebody says, the rumor is the wife filed for divorce. The daughter was working for the judge and protecting both of them as sheriff, was abusive, and judge was going to serve him papers. That's one theory. Another theory, maybe the daughter was worried about her father's mental health, so she called a family friend, the judge. The sheriff may have had a break with reality, been delusional. Possible. Somebody else says, I feel that the sheriff had every reason to fear for the safety of his wife and daughter. Justice for Truth coming in with another 20. Girl, you are hot today. Thank you so much. Did the sheriff know this was going on with his deputy? Does this have any relation to him killing the judge? All questions I want to know too. Why did the judge have the teenage daughter's telephone number in his phone? Something does not pass the smell test. There's so much more to this story. Thank you. Sue became a member. Welcome. Petty Paralegal, thanks for being a member for 3 months. They got Marilyn Monroe, the hot shot, says Petty Paralegal. What say you, my friends? What say you? Somebody smells trafficking. Harry's math teacher says receivership for this county. They clearly need to clean house. Lindsay, I'm intrigued to learn more about the female sheriff deputy's phone. She turned her phone over to investigators because there were messages between Stines and other employees about the discussion at lunch. There's so much more to this story. Let me see if I can pull up a quick. Just have to remember where I saw it. Now I have to actually remember where I saw something. So hold on a second, because Vinny, in his show that I watched, did talk about the penalty for manslaughter as opposed to murder. Apparently, they do have the death penalty in Kentucky, but it's been like stayed or suspended since something like 2009. So that wasn't really clear. But let me just see if I can find quickly for you, because it was really interesting what Vinny talked about. It was not preliminary hearing show. Is it this? I'm sure I'll find it as soon as I go off the air. So just give me a minute. Give me a second. I found it. Oh, he's yelling at his think tank again. Well, we'll do it for the next stream, because I'm sure this is not going to be the last stream on this case. There is so much more to this case. I am anxiously awaiting what's next, as I'm sure are you. I think Vinny did more than one show on it. That's why I can't find it right now, but that's okay. It was actually a pretty fair show, and he did a pretty fair show on Carly Gregg the other night too. So smash the like button, please. And all of this remains to be seen. I don't have copies of any of the court docs yet, other than that lawsuit that I read to you. So that's what we have so far. She was an intern for the judge, daughter. Is that true? I mean, I heard that too, but I can't confirm or deny. So why did the deputy need to do that? I don't understand. I don't know. He's yelling at his think tank. He does that. He yells at his think tank sometimes, right? Thanks, JB3. I'm in a secret competition with Vinny Politan. He doesn't know about it, to beat him in subscriber count. So if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscriber button, it would really help. Wife but wouldn't be sitting behind him if she planned on divorcing him. Was she in the courtroom, Kathy? I saw the daughter. I did not see the judge. I mean, the wife. Corruption is everywhere. It sure is. Sure is. Thank you, my moderators, for keeping the chat classy today during two very difficult streams to cover. And I don't even know what to say about this case. I mean, what can I even say any more than I've already explained to you? It's horrifying. I don't know what's going on here. There's so much more to the story. So let's not jump to conclusions quite yet. I think that the defense is going to be, he needed killing. It's a case that could be ripe for possibly jury nullification. The jury thinks that he has justified reason for killing the judge based on what he found on his phone. They may say, yeah, we know what the law is, but we're not going to find him guilty. We don't know. I don't know how fast they move things in, this is Morgan County now. But we shall see. It'll remain to be seen. Thank you, moderators, for keeping it classy. I love you so very much. To my cupcakes who are members of my channel, who love me enough to want to be a member, I appreciate you so much. All of my viewers and replay viewers, smash the like button on your way out. Share out the stream. I don't know if anybody else has this complaint, if anybody else has been going over it, but it just goes to show that the rumors and speculation that are out there may not be accurate. There may be so much more to this story than we know. Thank you for always believing in truth and justice, and for always believing victims. Most of you, anyway. As they say to end every stream, be cool, be kind, be classy. It is not hard. I promise you, it is really so not hard. Peace, everyone. This is a tough one. Have a great rest of your day.